If there's one question Minnesota Vikings have on their roster right now is at the cornerback position. Our secondary was great last year. Trey Waynes was a great starter. He played very well. Xavier Rhodes was awful. Xavier Rhodes played terrible. Mike Hughes went out with an injury, but before that, he was looking good. But now our big question is at the cornerback position. We look good at safeties. We look good at linebackers. That's the spot where we struggle really bad with the Minnesota Vikings, and that's one of the most important positions in the entire NFL. Right now, the Minnesota Vikings, they lost a lot of their starters. They lost Xavier Rhodes. They had to cut Xavier Rhodes. That was a need. Great decision. That was the best offseason move by the Minnesota Vikings, was getting rid of Xavier Rhodes. They had to get rid of Trey Waynes and Mackenzie Alexander to free up that cap space that they took Michael Pierce with. And then also because they were, negative $250 million in cap space or something like that. They had to get rid of them. They went to the Cincinnati Bengals. Wish the best of luck to those two corners. I think Mackenzie Alexander is amazing. Trey Waynes, a great reliable starting corner. I don't think he's anything crazy, but Mackenzie Alexander I think is a really good slot corner. He's not as good as Trey Waynes, but I think he's underpaid for the amount that he is getting paid. Right now, Logan Ryan is still sitting on the free agent market. Now, Logan Ryan is known for his years in New England, where he played very well with the New England Patriots, and then his last 2 seasons playing with the Tennessee Titans. Titans had a great defense last year. Defense was one of the reasons why Tennessee Titans got as far as they were. Their other reason was because on the other side of the ball, they had Derrick Henry carrying their entire team. But defense is one of the reasons why Tennessee Titans went as far as they did, was because of this. Logan Ryan played well last year, which is why I'm surprised he is still on the free agent market. Now, again, he is a veteran cornerback. Been in the league for a long time, so you can't expect anything crazy from him. Maybe not the starting role for the Minnesota Vikings, but the Minnesota Vikings right now have a big hole at the secondary position, especially the corner. The corner is where they really struggle. And right now, all of our corners are young players we cannot rely on. We don't know what they look like, and we don't know how they are going to play. Starting with our biggest player right now, our biggest question mark on our entire Minnesota Vikings team is Mike Hughes. Is Mike Hughes any good? We have no idea. We have seen Mike Hughes play barely at all. He was okay in the kicking game. I mean, he received pretty well, but is he a good corner? I mean, he's never lived up to his first-round pick, but you don't know if he's even going to. He's been injured. How many games has he even played? I don't know. He came out with that first game of his career, looked amazing. I was like, finally, we got a good corner. We finally hit on a good corner. We haven't had a good corner since Antoine Winfield, so we finally have somebody. And then Mike Hughes went out with a really bad injury, and that really sucked for the Vikings. And after that, we saw a lot of players play. We saw Mark Fields play. Mark Fields is not good. I don't know why the Minnesota Vikings still have Mark Fields on the roster. They have him on the practice squad. I don't know why they do. I think they should get rid of Mark Fields. I don't think he's good at all. Holton Hill we saw play. Holton Hill looked really good. I thought Holton Hill looked great. Trey Waynes, given the starting role, looked great. Mackenzie Alexander, I think, looked great. Xavier Rhodes and Mark Fields, I thought, played terrible, and I think they should get rid of Mark Fields. I don't know why they still have him. But anyways, is Mike Hughes any good? We have no idea. We're going to give him the starting role again. We're going to give him to be the right corner for the Minnesota Vikings. But is he a starting corner? We have no idea. And then after that, our next 3 corners are all players that we don't know anything about either. Jeff Gladney, he's a rookie. Now, of course, Jeff Gladney, they're going to start Jeff Gladney because they have to. He was the first-round draft pick. Just because he's a first-round draft pick does not mean anything. You know what I hate? I hate when people are... I just don't like ESPN and Fox when they rank players and they put rookies in the ranking. Like they're ranking wide receivers and they have some of these rookie wide receivers that haven't played a game and they rank them with the veteran, these pro players. They've never played a professional game of football in their life. Why are you ranking them with players that play against, that you're ranking based off of how they look against NFL defenses? And then you're ranking a player coming out of college that is playing only in college so far. You don't know how they're going to look in the NFL. Players can be a star in the NFL, in college, come to the NFL and be the worst play on the roster. I don't think when you're ranking players at all, you should put rookies in the rankings. It just doesn't make sense at all. I see people ranking quarterbacks and they have Joe Burrow ranked high, Tua Tagovailoa ranked high. I'm like, how are you going to rank them? I know they played great in college. I know they played really good in college. You can't rank them with the NFL quarterbacks. It just doesn't work like that. Maybe you can put them above who? Who's the Jags quarterback? I can't remember right now. I was about to say Leonard Fournette. Whatever his name is right now. Minka Fitzpatrick. No, wrong guy. Gardner Minshew. I'm getting the wrong guy. Gardner Minshew. You can put some of those players above Gardner Minshew, but overall, you should not put them in ranking with those quarterbacks anyways. I don't know why they do that. It doesn't make sense. I think that's stupid. But anyways, so you can't rely on Jeff Gladney to do anything this year. You can't rely on Cameron Dantzler to do anything this year. Cameron Dantzler, people are saying, is this steal is a steal from the third round of the draft. I totally disagree. I think Cameron Dantzler is not fit at all for the NFL. There's a reason why he was still available in the third round, and that's because of his versatility. He's not good. He's a length-through wide receiver that gets killed on coverage. He can do some good man coverage. No, he's probably better at zone. But still, how are you going to put him against some of these players? I mean, Cameron Dantzler, slot receiver at best? I don't see him doing anything better than that as of right now. I mean, he is just a rookie. We don't know how he's going to look. He could turn out to be the greatest corner of all time. And then after that, we have Holton Hill. Holton Hill, they have to keep on the roster. Do not get Holton Hill off of the roster. He is a player that can come in. You can play Holton Hill every game. Depending on how Mike Hughes, Jeff Gladney, and Cameron Dantzler look, you can play Holton Hill every game. You have Neville Clark. They should keep him on the roster too. And then besides that, you have Chris Boyd and Harrison Hand, who are just going to be on special teams. I don't think Chris Boyd and Harrison Hand are going to play much as a corner at all. I know that's their role, but they're going to play on special teams mostly. What do all these corners have in common? All of our corners have in common is that we don't know how they're going to look. We have a big question mark at our secondary position. Not our secondary position. Our safeties and linebackers are still going to be good. At the cornerback position, we have a big question mark. And to fill in that role, we need Logan Ryan. They need to draft Logan Ryan. Or not draft, sign him. He's still on the free agent market. We have the cap space now that, what's his name? Defensive tackle's gone. Michael Pierce. We have the cap space now for him. If we're not going to pay Dalvin Cook, we definitely have the cap space for Logan Ryan. He's not an expensive player at all. You can still start Mike Hughes. You can still start Jeff Gladney, but we can't rely on those players. Mike Hughes, Jeff Gladney, Cameron Dantzler, Holton Hill, Neville Clark, Chris Boyd, Harrison Hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of them we haven't seen play an NFL game at all. All four out of 6 of however many of them. Holton Hill's a player that you have to keep on the roster because you know he can do something. He's not at all a starting position, or he's not at all a starting player. Mike Hughes, you don't know how he's going to look. He's been injured all the time. You have to rely on Mike Hughes getting injured week 1, which is why you need all these corners. And that's why they drafted a lot of corners. Now, Chris Boyd and Harrison Hand, I think they're just going to stick to special teams. So what do you need? You need a veteran. Logan Ryan has played many years. You need a veteran for these players to develop under. If you have Logan Ryan on the roster, that's great. Now you have all these players that can develop because there's a veteran player who can teach these guys and develop them to be a better player. That's exactly what the Minnesota Vikings need right now is a corner. Just some corner that's been in the league for a long time. Doesn't need to be a starting. You can have him step in when Mike Hughes gets injured. You have to plan on Mike Hughes getting injured week 1. You have to plan on one of these guys not working. I mean, if Mike Hughes, Jeff Gladney, and Cameron Dantzler all work, great. Logan Ryan, you don't need him. You don't need him at all. But you can't rely on any of them to work. You don't know how any of them are going to look. Logan Ryan, put him on a 1-year deal. I don't know what. How much would they have to pay him? $4 million? I don't know. Put him on a 1-year deal. You have Logan Ryan on your 1-year deal. You can cut him halfway through the season too. Don't do a fully guaranteed deal. You can cut him halfway through the season if Mike Hughes, Jeff Gladney, and Cameron Dantzler all look good. Then cut Logan Ryan. But rely on them not looking good. The Minnesota Vikings are too good of a roster to take this big of a risk right now. They have an amazing offense. Vikings have one of the best offenses in the league. People would disagree. I think their pass game is really good and their run game is phenomenal. Although the run game does have a big question mark, but I do think Dalvin Cook is going to go off this year if they do not pay him. I think he's going to be playing for that 2021 contract or 2021 contract. But yeah, you need Logan Ryan. Logan Ryan is a must-have for the Minnesota Vikings because of how good the roster is. We have to be competing for a Super Bowl. If we're not competing for a Super Bowl, cut Logan Ryan. Get rid of him. We don't need to pay for this guy. We're not going to have him for more than 1 year. And then you can go for a redeveloping stage. Look at these teams right now. Look at the Green Bay Packers, our biggest rival, for example. Their secondary is so young to the point where they're not competing for a Super Bowl. People would say they were competing for a Super Bowl last year. The Packers were not competing for a Super Bowl. Green Bay Packers were not competing for a Super Bowl last year. The reason why they weren't competing for a Super Bowl is because they had no pass game and nobody on secondary. You would say they were because they made it to the NFC Championship and everybody that goes to a championship game is competing for a Super Bowl. I disagree. They did not live up at all to the Super Bowl team. What about the Green Bay Packers looked like a Super Bowl team? I mean, the run game was pretty good because Aaron Jones looked great last year. Their ability to get to the passer off of blitzing. I'm going to talk about this later. But the Green Bay Packers are not a Super Bowl team because of how young their secondary is. You need those veteran secondary players on your secondary to compete when you play offenses as good as the 49ers offense was last year with George Kittle, with Deebo Samuel, and Emmanuel Sanders. You need a better secondary than they had. So what will Logan Ryan bring to the Minnesota Vikings? Logan Ryan, being a veteran player, is a player that you should be able to rely on. He does have some injury concerns, but we'll take it. We'll take it. It's the only reason why he's still on the free agent market. It's the reason why you don't have to pay him as much is because of his injury concerns, and we'll take it. We will take Logan Ryan because he brings a lot to the Minnesota Vikings. Being a veteran player, these players can develop under him. With that being said, though, he is not much of an outside corner, which is what the Minnesota Vikings would need because Cameron Dantzler is probably more of a slot guy. You can use him on outside and zone coverage, but most of these guys you can use more inside the slot, which is kind of what Logan Ryan is. But you can blitz Logan Ryan. You know he is a great tackler. Logan Ryan is one of the best cornerback tacklers in the entire league. I would put him top 5 of the best corners that you can blitz on almost every play. Great slot corner. He brings a lot to the Minnesota Vikings, and we need to be able to blitz players. We have no blitz game right now. Don't stop blitzing Harrison Smith. Okay, blitz Harrison Smith maybe twice a season. I know he's a great tackler. Harrison Smith, you can always rely on him, but we need Harrison Smith in the back of the field if we're going to have this big question mark at corner. So don't rely on him. Blitz Anthony Barr more. I don't know why they're not blitzing Anthony Barr on almost every play. You have it covered. You don't need Anthony Barr back there trying to tackle the running back when the running back's not even over there. Blitz Anthony Barr more. That's all I'm saying. The reason why Anthony Barr went to a Pro Bowl 2 years ago was because you blitzed him on just about every play. That's the only reason why. That's the only thing good about Anthony Barr. I think he's one of the most overrated players in the Vikings. He is the most overrated players in the Vikings. If you're not blitzing him, he's garbage. Just being honest. But let me know what y'all think. That's going to wrap up this segment of Morning Kickoff. Should they take Logan Ryan from the free agent market? I think it's a great decision. Let me know what you all think. We have the cap space now, so it's not going to be a financial big decision for the Minnesota Vikings. We have the room. We can bring him in. The thing is when it comes to the active roster, though, the Minnesota Vikings are going to have to clear out some of these corners. Get rid of Mark Fields. You don't need Mark Fields. I'm tired of seeing this guy on the practice squad or active roster every year. He's garbage. You don't want him on the field. Get it? Okay. Anyways, let me know what y'all think. That's going to wrap up this segment. Thank you. Okay.